But God speaks to him, you're a mighty warrior. And Gideon's going, yeah, right. You see, it affected Gideon's identity of himself, and it affected his understanding of God's identity. And so God was okay with that. See, that's the amazing thing. God was okay with that. He understood why Gideon felt and thought the way he did. So what does God say? You know, God's often not real wordy. Have you noticed that when he gives you instructions? He doesn't feel the need to explain everything. We do, but he doesn't. Okay? So he just says to Gideon, go in the strength you have and I'll go with you. That didn't satisfy Gideon's heart. But what about this? What about that? What about this? And so Gideon began asking God for confirmations. Gideon began to express his doubts. And you know what? God was okay with that. God understands if you don't understand who you are. God understands if you don't understand who he is. But all he does is ask you to listen and obey, to trust him, and he will bring you to a greater understanding. So he says to Gideon, you just go in the strength you have, and I'll go with you. And then Gideon starts with all the, well, what about this? What about that? Okay, if it's really you, I'm going to put the fleece out. Okay, if it's really you, I'm going to put the fleece out again. You know the story. I'm not going to go through all those details. God is okay with your doubts. As long as you're asking questions, as long as you're expressing your doubts, so you're seeking clarification in order to follow him, in order to obey him. Now, if you're expressing your doubts, looking for a reason not to obey him, that's a whole different story. See, it has to do with the motivation of your heart. God does not mind if you have doubts. He doesn't mind if you lack vision, as long as you just keep taking it to him and asking him to clarify, to clear up. See, it's kind of his job to make things clear so we can do it. Okay? And God likes that. He doesn't have to give us all the reasons. He doesn't have to give us all the details, because if he did, it would overwhelm us anyway. What God calls you to is always going to be bigger than you can imagine. So just accept that. But it's not bigger than you can understand what he wants you to do. Okay? Many people get paralyzed in this place of like thinking they have to have more details before they can start moving in a way they know God has called. Let me tell you, you don't. If you know God has pointed a direction for you, if he's spoken something to you, the best thing you can do is to begin walking in that direction, making preparation to move that way, whatever it looks like. And the understanding you need will come in the process. It almost never will come before your obedience. Okay? That's the way God works. That's the way he worked with Gideon.